Hello and welcome to this special DVD from British Railway Modelling. We're here at the London Festival of Railway Modelling at Alexandra Palace to visit 6 amazing layouts. So, without further ado, let's take a look.
We like New Bryford for its close observation of a modern urban railway and its constantly updating fleet of trains. It's not a pretty landscape, but accurately reflects a 21st century railway in northern England in double gauge.
I'm Mick Brent and I'm the owner, co-owner and main operator and chief cook and bottle washer on New Bryford. The background goes back about to 1990 or so when I originally built the layout. It was on the exhibition circuit for about 10 years and then I sold it in 2000. The opportunity came a few years later to buy it back, and along with a fellow modeller, Spike Taylor, we bought it back and completely rebuilt the layout, added new scenic sections, revamped everything, pretty much except the track work, and converted to DCC along the way as well. And here it is today, back on the exhibition circuit. Set in northwest England, around the sort of Wigan, Bolton, Manchester triangle. Modern day, the last sort of 3, 4, 5 years. We model in urban setting because it's on the doorstep. We can just go out and photograph it. The problem is modelling the current day rolling stock that can change on an almost weekly basis at times. We model contemporary buildings with a mixture of materials. They're relatively easy to build the modern buildings because most of them are square. So a lot of them are MDF or plywood shells with styrene sheeting. That's the most common form on there. It's the easiest thing to build. Some are foam board as well. That 3mm foam board you can just glue together with hot glue guns. Make some of the buildings in literally an evening and then detail them up over the next few weeks. The rolling stock, a lot of it is ready to run, but very little is straight out of the box. Modifications are carried out where we need to renumbering, weathering, detailing, some are kit built, and a lot of it is just simple. A lot of it is actually photographed past my back door, literally, and I can model it that way, get lots of detailed photographs, and away we go. All the locals are fitted with DCC sound, all the units are fitted with DCC sound, and a few of the wagons even have DCC controlled tail lamps. It's a layout that I built a long time ago, and I was actually in the process of redesigning when the opportunity came up to buy it back. So the whole layout as a whole, it works, the plan works, the track plan works, and it doesn't bore us at exhibitions. It's really good fun to operate. So there's nothing favourite about it. It's all, we like it all.
O-gauge modern image layout in Vigici is a huge depiction of a Scottish terminus and freight yard. With working lights, realistic sound and authentic period trains, it really has it all.
My name is Jim McGeechy. This is Invergeechy, which is a play on my family name. It's a first ScotRail layout based on the handover from the National Express franchise to First ScotRail. It's set in the early to the mid 2000s. Although it's 45 foot long, 30 foot is actually scenic, 15 foot fiddle yard, which is still scenic, but the layout's only 28 inches wide, and that was because originally when I was building it, I had to fit it through a door. I chose all gauge because it's something I was always interested in. I'd built a few DGH tank engines like the 264 Fairburn, and I had a look at a lot of the layouts that were on exhibitions and realised there wasn't a lot of modern. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to build something a link to home? And when I was younger, I lived behind Eastfield TMD. So what better inspiration? Pete Clark is my builder. He builds better than I do, and that's why the locals are to such a high standard. So he builds and he paints the locals and the units. And all the transfers on here are transfers we've made. Pete Clark's been responsible for actually building and lining the locomotives, and they're all hand lined, they're all hand painted. Yes, we have an operating sequence, and it starts off on the early 2000s with 37s, 56s and 47s, and slowly but surely it changes over to 66s, 67s, and I also run the EWS executive train on the layout as well. I've got a Reka air-conditioned Mark II, just like the real thing, and basically that represents the cross-country train in the early part of the sequence. Each locomotive is special to me because I've got a photograph of everything that you see running on the layout. So I know it's authentic for the time period and the era and the area that I run it in. The buildings I've built myself. The station building and the signal box are from Town Street models, and the distribution centre was something that I took a photograph on. I built it to fit in. It's something that I've always wanted to do, you know, mix the passenger side with the freight side, and in the sequence you have passenger moves into space with goods movement and freight. Every local is authentic to the particular train that it's running on.
We at BRM love to see live steam done this well. St Marnock Engine Shed portrays a Glasgow and South Western Railway shed in BR days, with steam and diesel perfectly captured in all gauge.
My name is Mike Bissett. I'm the owner and builder of St Marnock Engine Shed. It was built in 2009 and its first public outing was at Model Rail Scotland in 2010. The scenic area is 15 feet by 3 feet and it's made up in 3 sections, each one 5 foot by 3 foot. The layout was actually built quite quickly. It was built within a year. because we were given a deadline to have it ready for Model Rail Scotland. St Marnock is very much an exercise in nostalgia for me. I remember the 60s when steam was giving way to diesel, and I spent most of my youth at that time around the engine sheds at Ayr. So St Marnock is based on Ayr in the early to middle 60s. The stock that is operated on St Marnock is a mixture of kit-built locos, mainly from DJH. Some of the diesels are from Just Like the Real Thing. The other locomotives are ready to run. Some of them are Bachmann Brass Works. Some are from Sancheng, which are made in China. And the others are Golden Age. They're superb models, and they're made in Korea. They're all brass construction. The buildings on St Marnock they're actually very heavy because they're built from layers of thick cardboard laminated together with PVA adhesive. The outer finish on them is embossed plastic sheet. In the case of the engine shed, it's what we call coarse stone. Now, to produce the sooty effect of the stonework, the outer sheet of embossed plastic is first of all sprayed with Halford's grey primer, the same as is used on cars. That runs into the mortar courses and gives a nice grey mortar. Then the hard work starts, because every individual stone is picked out and individually painted. Some are painted darker, some are painted lighter, and it has to be done 2 or 3 times to build up the density of the paint. Once that's all done, the whole structure is given a rub over with weathering powder, which softens the overall effects of the individually painted stones and gives that weathered look. The turntable is made by a company called Metalsmith, who are based in Kettering. It is still operated by DC power rather than DCC. The locomotives that have sound and smoke, the Golden Age ones have the sound and smoke units already fitted when you purchase them. The other ones we've fitted the sound and smoke units to. It would be difficult to say that there is one part of it that I enjoy more than any other. It's just the overall sense of a working steam shed that I enjoy.
So this particular event I've come to a few times in the past, and of course it's one of the bigger ones, and it's one of the best ones because people come from all over the country bringing different things, and so I try and go to the occasional big one, and so it's wonderful to see some of the layouts and the work that the people have put into it. I mean, it makes me cry. It's fantastic. So yes, I enjoy myself here and get the odd thing from the odd stall, yes, I think it's an excellent show to go to. It's got a little hint as well of the shows from the sort of 1960s about it for some reason, I think because of the great building it's in. You know.
It's not just its sheer size that makes Newchapel Junction exceptional, but it's an O-gauge railway system controlled by an interlocking signalling system, just like the real systems that maintain safe operation in the steam era.
My name is Stephen Wilkins. I'm not a group leader, but I'm one of a team of us that contributes to the running of the layout. My speciality really is the track work, the building of the points, and the design of the wiring diagrams and the control panels, which is really my forte since I'm professionally a railway signalling engineer. Normally, the layout is only set up at exhibitions. As at home, a layout of this size, 55 feet long, we don't have room to set it up, I'm afraid, so only at exhibitions. We pretend that the layout is based somewhere in the Yeovil area, where the southern and the western ran together, and we aim to recreate the 1930s to the late 40s period. The shape of the layout and its track plan has evolved over the years. The layout used to be dumbbell shaped. Then one of the circles was withdrawn and replaced by the locomotive yard and turntable. Various parts of the layout have been rebuilt over the years, but the format dates back about 22 years. And some of the layout is 22 years old, but it's largely now been renewed more recently. Some of it is only 2 years old. The branch line, for example, completely new just 2 years ago. The trains are controlled by straightforward, smooth DC. We're not into electronic locomotive control. We use electronics for other things, but not for loco control. We use plain, smooth DC voltage controllers, transistor following a potentiometer, nothing more. And that is applied to the rails, no complications, and it works very well for us. The circle part of the layout is fully signalled, upper quadrant semaphore. We are in the process of rebuilding the main station, and in a year or two's time that will appear on the exhibition circuit. The new station will be fully signalled, all Great Western lower quadrant, with some quite impressive gantries which my son is building. A great deal of wiring, a great deal of interlocking, and to make the thing operable by the people controlling the layout, a great deal of interlocking and automatic and semi-automatic controls for the signals, so that when a route is set from between any 2 points, if the signalling is switched to work auto, the signals for the correct route will clear themselves, and that makes the operator's job a whole lot easier. Well, I'm a Great Western fan, so I love the Great Western rolling stock, the lower quadrant signals, but in terms of the layout itself, I like Newchapel Junction because we have a little bit of everything. We can have trains continuously running on the circles, there is continuous shunting in the goods yard, there are trains tripping from the main station and back from the branch line, a village freight train trips to and fro between goods yards, and we have the mainline trains arriving and departing from the main station, where there are constantly light engine movements as locos run round their trains.
BRM has covered dioramas before, but as an atmospheric and authentic depiction of the infamous 1960s Great Train Robbery, it doesn't get much better than this. Clever presentation, great modelling and great attention to historical detail.
My name's Nigel Adams. I was the poor person who actually conceived this project from the start. And my involvement has been the construction of the catenary and the Class 40 locomotive and the Austin lorry that was used in the main part of the raid. The catenary is predominantly scratch built because of course there wasn't a catenary kit as such, but it was using some extra parts from N-scale brass, and then I hand constructed all the rest of the parts that go with it. And of course the catenary is interesting because it has an unfinished look about it, which is exactly how it was at the time of the robbery, where the catenary was gradually being extended towards London. So that was quite an interesting thing to make, but it does have an element of fragility about it, so I'm very conscious of being very careful when we handle it. The Class 40 is a Pete Waterman, just like the real thing, kit with some extensive modifications and enhancements. We've added cab lighting and the head code lighting, and the head codes themselves were positioned exactly as the real locomotive had them, with them being slightly offset. The loco has stored charge lighting, and the fan is powered very similar way to the Heldren models are in the top. It's twin motored, it has all axles driven, is all independently sprung, and the locomotive is actually quite full of electronics. The Austin lorry is a Langley kit, and that was white metal and resin. The white metal was quite good, the resin needed a fair bit of filling to actually make that look presentable. And then we added the lighting into the road vehicles, purely to try and again bring the scene to life, because a diorama being a static display needed just a little bit of something to bring it, to make it into a piece of theatre.
Well, I'm basically responsible for the scenery, the figures, the water. The water is magic water from America, and it forms a nice hard, a clear effect. I tried to base it on what I think an August scenery would look like, and it's the grass is starting to go yellowish. There is a selection of different foliages, different colours of foliage. There is, in addition, there is the fencing that I had to do, which I researched from the photographic evidence. And then there's the ballasting, which is laborious, but it's got to be done. The hardest part really was the line sign fencing, which runs in an uneven pattern along.
The TPO vehicle is made from a Westdale kit. It was a one-off vehicle, and the proprietor of Westdale kindly made that vehicle for us because one wasn't available. It's an aluminium extrusion with a wooden floor and bogies by sidelines. What we did find as we constructed it, more and more photos came through, and right at the last moment when we'd painted the vehicle and put the transfers on, we realised that there was actually 2 rows of ventilators on the roof. We had only put 1 row on, so it was a mad panic to put another row of ventilators on, which we managed to do with no damage to the vehicle whatsoever.
The magnificent and enormous Overlord is a remarkable tribute to the role played by Britain's railways in the build-up to June 6, 1944, otherwise known as D-Day. At BRM we rarely see such a consistent level of detail and quality on a layout of this size.
my name's Chris Mead, and this is my layout overlord. It's based around the preparations for D-Day, June 1944, and takes its inspiration from the ports of Southampton and Portsmouth. Always been interested in many different types of modelling, marine modelling, military modelling and railway modelling, and came across a book on Southampton, the preparations for D-Day, and it had a lot of pictures about the railways and how closely they were associated in the preparation of the building. And this gave us an idea of something interesting to do, something different. And then from that, we gradually did more and more research, more and more people gave us ideas and thoughts, and gradually it built into what you see here today. It's a combination of stock, mostly ready to run and kit built. There are a couple of specialist items from that era, particularly there's a lot of American wagons and locomotives that came over. Some of those are scratch built, again from plans and information that we've been given from various societies on the matter. No fancy electronics at all. Plain 12 volt DC. Buildings mostly scratch built, again from ideas and plans and photographs from around the Southampton and Portsmouth area. Anybody who knows that will probably recognise the warehouses from Southampton, and also some of the buildings from around the Portsmouth Naval Dockyard as well. Some of the ships on here are actually fully radio controlled, so we can actually sail those if we get the opportunity. It's a combination of destroyers, kit-build items, destroyers, corvettes, the classic matchbox corvette, which is where it started all. Again, some scratch-built items, particularly for the landing craft. Particularly on this side, this particular one is scratch-built out of plastic. Again, from plans that I actually received from somebody in California who used to serve on these during the Second World War. There's no real timetable. We find that with a layout like this, because it's so unusual, and we get lots of questions, so we're quite often mostly stop and talk and explain the background and the history and what people see. So we just try and keep things running, hopefully keep it entertaining for people. As with most layouts, it's never really finished. We started it in 1994, and at that time it was only 12 feet long, and over time, as we gain more and more involved in it, we've got more and more ideas, we've grown it now, and what you see now is nearly 40 feet long. It was originally designed to go into the back of 2 cars. Once we graduated and realised we needed larger transport like a van, we realised we had more space, and so inevitably we filled it. And twice we've taken this layout to Germany, to Bremen, the Euromod. One of the exhibitors there gave us his special, what he called his dirty water, and this is what you see here now. People always ask about it, and I always have a little tub that I show people where it comes from. All the aspects you see here have their own memories and connections. I think the ones I'm particularly most poignant are the ones that have come from the memories and recollections of people who were actually there at D-Day, who served on the ships, who drove the locomotives, who were in the vehicles that went up the beaches, 20 minutes after the first wave, and their stories. And I can look at each of those, again, too numerous to mention, but those are the things, the memories that are attached to the models that you see here, and the memories that actually gave us the inspiration and the encouragement to do what you see here today.
And there we have it, 6 incredible looking layouts from expert modellers, and they were here with over 30 other high quality layouts at the London Festival of Railway Modelling.
The show is now in its 15th year and still has plenty to offer, from amazing layouts in a range of gauges and eras, to trade stands stocked with new, hard to find and unique products. You can see live demonstrations, get expert advice in the BRM village and visit the BRM stand, where you can meet the magazine staff, take out a subscription and get free gifts, or even try out our iPad app. Don't miss our live theatres with expert speakers across the weekend and get the inside information you need for your modelling projects. Our next show is on the 28th and 29th of March 2015. Don't forget you can get exclusive benefits when you book early. Just visit Model Railways Live to find out more.
So, don't miss all the fantastic layouts at our next show. See you in 2015.